All right. Hello, everybody. You are listening to the Minding Mind podcast, where we live life with ease, connection, and permission to just be. I'm your host, Evelyn LeVasseur, and welcome back to another episode. Today, I am sitting down with a special guest, a soul purpose mentor, Dr. Lisa Petty, and we're going to talk all about aligning with your divine feminine wisdom. I cannot wait to get into this conversation because I love to talk all about women and our power and how we can just continue to rise together. Dr. Lisa combines science and spirituality in her work as a neo-shamanic energy practitioner and soul purpose mentor. She earned a PhD exploring what gets in the way of women taking care of their well-being. And the answer is simple: the social pressures on us to have to do it all. She now mentors women to align with their fullest potential and soul purpose by tuning into their own divine feminine wisdom for guidance. Dr. Lisa, this is going to be so good because just reading your bio, I can hear women saying, that sounds great, but how? What do you mean my soul purpose? What do you mean my wisdom inside? We're so disconnected from that and so far removed from all the things that make us us that it sounds like a beautiful aspiration, but so scary and maybe even unattainable.
I hear you. And so for people who are going soul purpose, oh my gosh, I can't breathe right now. Change it every time you hear that to self-actualization, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about that urge to color to that edge of your life. Make sure you leave nothing behind. Make sure that all the gifts you've been given, you use them up. Right? It's that urge, that calling. If you're listening to this podcast, chances are you've heard the little voice saying, but why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? What's next for me? That's what I'm talking about when I talk about soul purpose and self-actualization. It's just fulfilling that, all aspects of yourself.
How do you even, we're getting right into this, I guess.
Yeah.
How do you even help women start to recognize that there is purpose within them and there is like this calling? How do you get them to start to dig a little and figure out what that might even be for them?
That's a really good question, because a lot of women, we're so busy, right? We go through life doing for other people. We have these social expectations on us about how we're supposed to look, how we're supposed to act, what we're supposed to get done at the end of the day, how much money we're supposed to make, yada, yada, yada. This isn't news. What we're not experts at is figuring out what we want, because frankly, nobody ever asked us, right? Way back in the 80s, you mentioned in my bio that, and this came from my doctoral research, this pressure to have it all. It became a social mantra, right? Ladies, you can have it all. Nobody ever said ever once, but what would you like? Right? So here we go out into the world, we get our education, we get a career that we like or don't like, doesn't matter. We're supposed to be having it all. We find a partner, we have a family if that's what we choose to do, right? We tick all the boxes. Again, nobody ever said, but what would you like? And so I'm sensing that anyone who's listening to your podcast has started to at least have that discomfort. And it's usually somewhere in your body. And this is sadly new information for a lot of women, right? That your body is more than an object for other people to look at, something that you have to hate because your thighs rub together or your boobs droop or, fill in the blank, right? Your body is actually the vehicle you use to get through the earth. It is what connects you to the earth, to your higher power, God, source, the universe, whatever language you want to use. So your body matters, and your body is like the receiver of all of your intuition, all of the guidance that comes from the energy around us. And if people are starting to go, oh, she's getting weird now. No, this is in our language, right? We talk about knowing something in our heart. We talk about feeling something in our gut, right? We have all had that experience of walking into an unknown space and having the hair stand up on our arms or at the back of our neck, right? So our body is sort of this receiver of information from outside. And so we need to pay attention to it. right? And for a lot of women, that feeling of, oh, there must be more, it either starts in the gut. For me, it's like this rock I feel in my abdomen when I need to pay attention to me. It comes back to this heaviness that I'm feeling in my body, right? So for some women, it might be their heart is racing. It could be they feel spacey or disconnected, right? In some way, your body gives you a clue. It's time for you to come back. I need attention. There's information here you're not paying attention to, right? And if we don't pay attention to it, what happens? Well, if we don't pay attention to the rock in the gut, you could end up with diarrhea. You could end up with constipation, right? So it moves from energy out there that we're not tuning into to a physical reaction in our bodies because we're the receiver. So for women who are just like, I don't even know, tune into your own body. Just sit quietly, take a few deep breaths. That in itself is going to be incredibly healing and incredibly grounding. And notice in your body where you have constriction or tension or tightness or whatever. Tune into that spot and say, what message do you have for me? And then listen. Listen with your ears, but listen with your mind and your eyes and your heart, right? And again, this is, as we were talking about before, this is information that used to be passed down from woman to woman to woman, and it isn't anymore. It isn't because it's culturally not acceptable to tune into your intuition, right? Along at the same time that we heard you can have it all, we were forced out into this masculine system that was created by and for women, men to succeed. And we learned how to do it because women are brilliant. We're so adaptable. It's part of our feminine power, actually, to go with the flow, to follow cycles, to learn, to be open, to follow our curiosity. We went out into the world and we did that. But in doing so, we left a lot of ourselves behind. We learned to make logic the ruler, and we stopped listening to our bodies. We stopped listening to our emotions. There's no crying in the boardroom, right? So we learned to stop being emotional, and yet our emotions, again, are another way that we get information about what is good for us and what is not good for us and what direction to go. So it's all related, and it starts with getting in touch with your body.
You said something when we were talking prior to recording that I feel like we should touch on, because you mentioned before that it's so important to be able to tune in and to be able to figure out what your body's feeling and to be able to actually lean into your own desire, right? But how does somebody do that in a world that doesn't accept it, doesn't embrace it, and actually almost shames and judges
100%.
right, for going against that grain? Where do you start trying to recognize these things for yourself and also be able to exist in this world unapologetic when it feels like all the forces are against you?
Well, I don't know if you have noticed this, Evelyn, but I feel this energy shift in the world now where women are starting to recognize that things aren't working, and they're starting to tune into these discomforts that we're having. So a big one for women, for example, you hear about it all the time. If you go into social media for 5 minutes, you see a post on imposter syndrome, right? So in my mind, imposter syndrome happens when you are not being who you are. You're trying to fit into these social expectations that other people have of you, right? Again, this idea of trying to fit into the masculine system, so you leave all your feminine gifts behind. You don't lead with your heart. You leave your emotions out. You don't listen to your body and follow the flow. And so any space where you're feeling not comfort, you're feeling discomfort, that's a place to start. And I think the big thing for women, again, and you mentioned shame and guilt, and my goodness, that has been programmed into us in a variety of ways, right? We could have inherited it from our mothers. You know, I talk about the mother wound in my work, which is not just about a relationship with your mother, but it's about the limitations that she demonstrated to you about what was possible for her that you took on, right? And so there's woundings there. There's other generational woundings, like the witch wound you might have heard of, which is, it's sort of a leftover from the witch hunt, where again, masculine systems would penalize women for tapping into their divine feminine strengths of healing and midwifery. Like any woman who was a midwife was a threat, right? So how did we adapt from that, right? We learned to be quiet. We learned to hide our gifts. We learned to not talk about these things. So we've got those wounds, generational wounds we're not even conscious of, that we have to actually consciously seek to see, oh, is this impacting me? Is this another one of those outside structures that's impacting me?
Yeah.
But then we have our own personal wounds, right? Whatever happened to us, big and small T trauma throughout our lives, we have to look at those and see, how do those push our buttons? How do those influence the choices that we make? Because all of these things influence us in ways that create an image we have of ourselves. And that image can either be empowering or disempowering, depending on what it is. So if your self-image is that you don't deserve, that you must live in guilt and shame, that you've got enough, that, you need to be quiet, you need to stay small, if that's what your self-image is, then you're not going to be able to move beyond that to become the woman that you fully are, that seed inside of you that is begging to be nurtured, right? And to grow. So it's really a process of looking at what your self-image is. What are the wounds that have created that? And let's work on healing those wounds so that you can then create this new self-image that does show up, that is entitled to whatever she wants, that can grow and can make a difference. Because I think that is, again, part of our feminine nature, to nurture others, of course, nurture ourselves as well, but that is part of our gift, right? And to share, and I like to say, create ripples out into the world.
Yes.
Right? So really that's the first thing, looking at where you are creating your own logjam and not fixing, because you're not broken. It's something that has an experience that has shaped you. And if you want to change your current experience, you have to sort of get out of that box, right?
I keep getting this visual in my mind of this life that we've created for ourselves, where we are ultimately feeling like caged, right?
Yes.
Just stuck in this box that we were put into. But it also feels empowering to know that with the more exposure that I have to these types of conversations, the more books that I read, the more podcasts, events that I attend, all the things that open my mind to me, just makes me realize that I had this cage around me, but I was literally walking around with the key in my pocket.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Yes.
From the inside out and not recognizing that I was the only one that could set myself free. And I know that it feels so daunting to say I'm in this place and I want to be here instead. But really, it's the small decisions that you make along the way that continue to just open up these new ideas in your mind and just let you connect to yourself so differently that you walk differently. You search for different books. You search for different relationships. You start to attract people in your life that just embrace those parts of you and help uplift them too, right? So it's like, I guess it could be seen as a daunting task, right? This growth, this elevation, this releasing of all the life lessons. But it also is like a very slow, nurturing, beautiful, like enveloping journey.
Yes. So we're talking about a spiritual awakening, right? And for some people, it is literally a 2x4 on the head, right? It's the loss of a loved one. It's a near-death experience, right? Those are the rare ones where someone has an experience and their whole world disintegrates and they have a new perspective. For most people on this journey, it's a one day at a time thing. It is, as you say, you are exposed to some new information, a new experience, and it shifts you a little bit. And suddenly you're looking in a just slightly different direction, and you take a few steps forward, and then you learn a little bit more, and your world opens up a little bit, right? So it really is about, I like to say, one change could change everything, right? So it, again, it's about creating ripples, but it's about you honoring your choice to become the fullest expression of who you are, right? So it does take time.
Yeah.
And yet you can have massive leaps once you unlock one door. You can go, oh, I get this. I get what I've been doing. And the difference is it's not about mindset, Evelyn. So a lot of people think, oh, you just change the way you think. That's part of it. It's about an energetic shift in who you are. And once you make that energetic shift, you cannot fall backwards unless you choose to, right? Because people can choose to. But once you have this energetic shift, it's like you're a different person now. You still have all the same, you're still married to the same person, whatever it is. But you no longer hold that mantle of I'm not worthy, because now you know you're worthy, and there's no going back. And it's not about your thoughts changing. It's about your energy. You step into this new energy, and then you just think differently from that new energy. So it can be, it's a slow process, but then there can be these big leaps.
Yeah.
These shifts in energy that are just so empowering.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about what it feels like to realize some of your own potential, right? And you start showing up a little bit differently. You start walking a little bit differently. Like, you look in the mirror and you see something a little bit differently.
Yeah.
You might even like wink at her and say, I love you, girl. See you there. Right. It's like you just embrace you and love you differently. But can you talk a little bit about what that feels like when the people around you are not taking steps in that journey? Yeah. Go ahead.
So anytime there is a change, people are going to react to you, right? Now, this is an example that most women can relate to. This idea, let's say you've decided that you need to release a few pounds. Maybe you need to be healthy. There's like 50 or more pounds that need to be released for your heart to be healthy, for you to have more energy, whatever. So women, because I used to work in holistic nutrition, right? Women would come to me with these goals. And as they became more and more healthy, their partner, for example, would start undercutting them. Oh, why don't we just have pizza tonight? Why don't we just skip the walk and stay on the couch? And it has to do with the fact that their fear is kicking in, right? If you become healthier and you have more energy and you want to do more with your life, what does that mean for me? So it's not about you, it's about them, right? And so when you start to evolve and become the fullest expression of who you are and step into a different energy, you're not going to magnetize the same. Your relationships can change. So you need to be prepared for that. You need to be prepared not for just the good stuff, right? Now I have the confidence to ask for the promotion. Now I have the confidence that I know I can do this 5K run, right? You're going to engage with the world differently in a positive way, but things are going to change. And you have to also have the courage to let things go that are holding you back. And I don't mean by that ditch the partner unless you want to, right?
Right.
But when you're holding a new energy, they have a choice to make as well. Do I step up, right? Or is this just not going to work? And women, again, have to. And if you don't have this, I hereby, by the authority vested in me, grant you permission to do what is right for you, what causes your heart to sing, your cells to vibrate, your energy to flow freely, because that is what you came here to be. If you want to talk about what your soul purpose is, I'll let you in on a little secret. Your soul purpose is to be who you came here to be. That is your purpose. You're supposed to show up and be a little bit sassy if that's the gift you were given. You're supposed to be a little bit of a critical thinker if that's what the gift you were given. If you're supposed to be a hippie, you're supposed to be a hippie, because the world needs that, right? We are all connected. We are all part of this great big cosmos, and we need you. We need you to be what you came here to be, or else the whole system is not going to be as effective.
Yeah.
So that's your purpose. Be who you came here to be.
I think when I was maybe in the earlier stages of like this embracing, right? I had a lot of fear that I was gonna outgrow my marriage. I had fear that I was outgrowing relationships, that I was just in my mind, I guess I equated growth with loss.
Mm.
And it felt very like one way or the other. Either I choose me or I choose them. I can't have both. That's how I felt at the time.
Right.
And I guess
Very
I
common.
had to, right?
Yeah.
I had to kind of realize that there were two things at play. One was that I was trying to control the outcome of my journey,
Yes.
right? And then the other part was that I had to recognize at some point that choosing to put other people first would always result in me feeling like I lived in betrayal of myself. So I guess somewhere along the line, I kind of just recognized that it could be a both, and I could be
Mhm.
growing and planting seeds. I could be waking up and just existing as myself and showing other people what was possible. And I could also hold some grace and compassion for the fact that through my journey, they were also experiencing loss, because the version of me that they learned to love to begin with didn't really exist anymore. And I was kind of forcing her down their throats, this accept me, when really the whole point was I needed to accept me. I needed to just be and recognize that their journey and their process is personal.
It's none of your business.
None of my business.
Right? So there's
None of
that.
it.
So, but two things that come to mind. First of all, if you are so powerful that your behavior can influence the experience of everyone else around you in such a way that is negative, can we not flip that to say that your behavior and the choices that you make is so powerful that you can influence the people around you in a positive way? Right?
Mhm.
And that cliche, the rising tide lifts all boats, right? If you are being the fullest expression of who you are, you're sending an energy out of the into the world that is so attractive that
Mhm.
your girlfriends and the people you work with, they're going to look at you and go, what has she got? I want some of that, right? And what a beautiful, and all you're doing is being you.
That's it.
That's all you're doing is being you. And other people are going, I want some of that. What are you doing?
Mhm.
Right? It's a beautiful story. I love it.
It is. I love that idea of, because it was also in my mind, that whole like I need to change, but I also don't want anything to change.
It's just impossible.
Right? Completely impossible. I
Yes.
think what really opened my eyes several years ago, my coach at the time said the most simple thing. Ask me, Evelyn, what do you desire? And
Mm.
I'm like, that's easy. I desire for my marriage to be rooted in friendship. I desire to have happy, healthy children. And I desire for my home to be one that I am always happy to be in. And she, with the most straight face, said, that's really cute. But you just talked about all the things that give you a title: a wife, a mother, a partner, a provider.
Your
You did
social
not talk
roles.
at all about you. And that was the first time that I said to myself, I don't know that I've ever dreamed for myself. Or maybe I did, and I don't know when I stopped. I
Nobody ever
don't
asked you what
know
you
when.
wanted.
Nobody ever asked me. And I don't even know, as an adult, I
Right.
don't even know that I recognize a time in my life where I felt like there were tons of possibilities. To me,
Mhm.
it was more like there's this path. I'm going to
Yep.
go to college. I'm going to get married. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to have a family. And, I checked all the boxes.
Right.
And that would be fulfillment.
Yep.
But then you get your list and your boxes are all checked and you're like, no, this can't be it.
This can't be it, right? And I think a lot of women get to that point. Probably a lot of people listening right now get to the point and they go, but I've done it all.
Yeah.
Why do I feel so empty? Why do I feel hollow? Why do I feel like, you know, I remember, and this is a really vulnerable share for me, because I had the dark night of the soul that many women experience when you go through that place of, what is the point of this?
Yeah.
And my life had stalled so much, and I couldn't seem to get energy in any direction,
Mhm.
right? I won't go into what I discovered, but I will tell you about this one moment when I was in the shower, which is where I tend to emote when I need to emote. And I was screaming at God. And
Mhm.
I was saying, if this is all there is for me, take me now, because I don't want to do this anymore. This is running on a treadmill, and I have 30 years left of this feeling of emptiness and uselessness and disempowered. Like, they don't tell me what to do now.
Yeah.
There's no role for me now that I'm no longer a mother, a wife, you know, that kind of thing. By the way, I'm not saying that I was going to do myself harm. I was just basically saying, hey, God, zip me out of this body
Yeah.
if this is all there is, because I don't want to do it. But then the funny part of this story is I'm standing in the shower and I'm like, well, wait a second. If he actually takes me up on this, I better do some cleaning. So I was cleaning the shower as I continued to cry and rail and say, this is all there is, take me now. But I needed that moment. I needed to be able to let it all go, right? Because from there, I walked out a clean, new, empty vessel who was ready to create a different path.
Mhm.
Right. So again, I think a lot of women get to that place and they're not telling us what to do anymore.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point? Well, the point is now it's your time.
Yeah.
Lean in,
Mhm.
right? Figure out who you really are, who you came here to be. It's not about what you came here to do. It's about, who did you come here to be?
Yeah. Yeah.
Be her. And I promise you, you're going to feel so many different things, so much better about your life and your situation. And then you will get inspired to do things,
Mhm.
right? Once you are being you, the doing,
Yeah.
creating, the vision, it will
Mhm.
just pull you forward.
Mhm. And it literally will make anything that doesn't align with that vision feel so physically uncomfortable.
Yes.
Like your body will reject all the things that aren't taking you where you actually want to be.
You can make decisions so quickly, right? And you can, oh, wow, here's an opportunity. Oh gosh. Oh, I think I want to throw up,
Mhm.
right? No, not
Mhm.
that opportunity. So, but the other thing is, I think once your energy changes, so many of those misaligned things, you don't even see them. Like, they're not even in the realm of possibility anymore.
Mhm.
They're like your old boyfriend, right? You just, like, he's so far gone, you don't even think about him, see him, whatever anymore. And that makes, we talk about the divine feminine as having flow. That's part of it, because when you're in your energy, you're not attracting these things as often that are not meant for you.
I love it. So, Dr. Lisa, before we head out for the day, because this conversation is beautiful, how do you suggest you talked with women starting with that tuning in, that getting quiet, that learning to pay attention to the signals that the body is giving us all the time. What do you suggest from there? You get into this work. How else can women be supported in figuring out their journey their way?
Well, first of all, we'll go back to what we were talking about earlier, and that's the importance of grace. When you make this choice that you matter, treat yourself with grace, which is just loving kindness. Just allow that you're going to stumble, that you're going to make mistakes, that you're not going to get it right the first time or the 100th time, and follow your curiosity, right? If something interests you, there's a reason that it got your attention. It is potentially the right energy for the next version of you, right? So I think, in terms of, we already talked about tuning in to your body, and for many women that's a huge one. But to open up to all of your divine feminine gifts, because you can do the masculine stuff. Masculine energy, and we all have both, right? We all have masculine and feminine energy, but women have been leaning so far into the masculine, which is about survival and protection and logic and competition, right? We can do that. We need to now harmonize with our feminine, which is the emotion,
Mhm.
our intuition, our wisdom, what we know to be true. And we can't tell you why we know it to be true. We just know it to be true. To nurture ourselves and others. So leaning into those divine feminine traits, it's a really good first step if you don't know who you are meant to be. If you just allow, remember what it's like to feel emotions and be guided by them. Develop your intuition, right? I have a pendulum course, which I love pendulum because I have a doctorate. I like to think. I follow my curiosity. I like, my brain is constantly, let's figure this out, let's figure this out. And if a lot of women are like me, right? We've been trained to be like that. And so I like the pendulum as a tool that helps me tap back into my intuition. And it was like my gateway, right? How can I get back to allowing my intuition to be part of my experience? So do that, develop your intuition, start journaling about your emotions, right? Getting into your divine feminine is a really powerful first step if you don't know what to do beyond that, right?
I love that. I love that. And it just feels not forced, right? Which is something
Yes.
that we're so used to forcing the change, but
It's
really,
like falling back, isn't
yeah.
it? It's just like, oh, falling back into a comfortable bed,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
And just like, yeah, like guide me, comfort me, and help me get there rather than do the right. I love
Do. Here's what you got to do. Yeah, yeah, for
that.
sure.
I
Yeah.
love Dr. Lisa, where could people follow you? Where are you active? You talked about the pendulum program. Maybe tell a little bit about how people can work with you if they were interested.
Well, I have a beautiful new program, a 6-month program for women who are ready to tap into this journey, right? And I call it the wisdom revolution because I think it's what we need. If we look out into the world, we can see that things are off kilter. And
Mhm.
we need the feminine to rise to help harmonize with the masculine. I'm not bashing men. I want to make this
Right.
perfectly clear. I have a son. I love him to bits. I love men. This is not about that. This is about energy and building up the feminine energy. So I have that program, 6-month high touch program, meaning it's like I am with you every step of the way. And it's not just about mindset. It is about shifting your energy and showing you how to do that and step into the next version of yourself. But I invite people to come to my website. It's soulgardening.ca. I have podcasts there. I have articles that I have written, information, of course, about how we can work together. It's all there. And you can find me on the socials by my name, Dr. Lisa Petty.
Awesome. I'm going to make sure that I link everything in our show notes to make sure that people can connect when they're ready. And before I can let you go, though, the question of the hour is in the
Yes.
Mind Mind community, we're all about being intuitive, focusing on your instincts, and truly shutting down all the expectations put on you from outside sources, right? We want to go with what aligns with our soul only, and that's what we call minding mind. So the question is, how does minding yours, living in alignment with yourself, impact the legacy that you'll leave?
Me personally?
Yes.
Me personally. So, my big vision is to inspire millions of women to simply be who they are, to stand in their power, to be the fullest expression of themselves. Because in my mind's eye, I see the world at night. And as every woman turns herself on, the lights go on all around the world. And if you think that we're in dark times right now, we need the light. We need the light to harmonize with the dark, just as we need the feminine to harmonize with the masculine. And so that's my vision, to have millions of pinpoints of light all around the globe. And all these women are doing is being who they are. Right.
Yeah.
And then they will send ripples out into the world and their daughters and their sons. Right. When you step into your power, you influence not just other women, you influence men as well. And I think that that is just so powerful.
So much, so much. And just your vision and the visual that you provided of the lights pinging on everywhere. It just felt like I don't know, a hug from the inside. That was
Oh,
beautiful.
beautiful.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lisa, for, embracing everything about what you do and helping us all continue to become who we're supposed to be. I want to thank everyone else also for joining the both of us today and tuning in to another episode of Minding Mine. If this episode resonates with you, make sure to comment, rate, and review the podcast. Your feedback continuously helps me grow. And until next time, I want you to go live your life on your terms and please mind your business. We will catch you in the next episode.